Hey guys, it's TF Nut. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing another action figure review. This is going to be of the Marvel Legends series Disney Plus Infinity Ultron Build-A-Figure series Moon Knight. I wanted to review this figure with the Mr. Knight figure, but for whatever reason, Amazon has been taking forever to ship any of the Infinity Ultron figures that I pre-ordered that a lot of people have been getting by now from other retailers. So may have to not use Amazon anymore if I want to get these earlier, sooner than later, I should say. Moon Knight, decent show, kind of has a sloppy ending, but I'm glad that we do have some figures here. And I was surprised to see that this was the double packed figure because this doesn't come with a Build-A-Figure piece. But yeah, very excited to finally have this in the packaging here, which is the standard, well actually the old packaging, not the new standard of the, recycling packaging and all that. Nice to see this at least one more time and then one more wave. Figure in the box, contents you see here. It does also say Moon Knight in a bunch of other places. Marvel Studios, Disney Plus, Hasbro right there. When we look towards the top, it does say Marvel Legends series. This top flap, it has the Moon Knight logo there, as well as Build-A-Figure Infinity Ultron. Warning choking hazards, as well as ages 4 and up. Really cool image of Moon Knight right here, and it is reflected on the other side. Right here, a different image, and that's really sick. I like that a lot. I'm also going to lift up the camera and then pause and read that right now. That's the read up right there if you wanted to pause that. It does say Marvel Legends series and the character's name right there as well. You also have where it says Build-A-Figure, Infinity Ultron, all the other figures in the wave. I've already reviewed these in a double review by now. And then right here is the barcode in case you need it. Let's go ahead and get this figure out of the packaging. Here is the figure out of the packaging. It's really nice overall. I think the Hasbro Marvel Legends team did a really great job on this one. A couple things about it I'm not the biggest fan of, but it is a solid figure nonetheless. Since this is the double packed figure, it doesn't come with a Build-A-Figure piece. Let's go ahead and take a look at the accessories that this figure comes with. Then we'll take a closer look at the figure. So these are the fists the figure comes packaged with. These look really nice with the overall sculpting. You see the wrappings on the back of the hand there, and in between the knuckles too. That's what the top of the knuckles look like. It's molded in this mostly off-white kind of plastic. It's not completely white, but you can see a little bit of like some of the seam line there from when they had the ejection, I guess. There's no paint in these, unfortunately, but the overall sculpting is still pretty good. This is like some kind of factory error. It looks like somebody took an X-Acto knife and cut this like that. You see that? So that's kind of weird looking. Not the biggest fan of that. I did not do that, I swear. So that's a little weird. Once this goes into the arm socket, though, hopefully that will look fine. We also have this this combined crescent boomerang piece. Essentially, if I can even dig in here, there we go. So these came separately out of the packaging, as you see there, but they're molded in this gold plastic. I don't think they look the greatest because it just would be great if they actually had a coat of paint on here. But the actual mold and the sculpt, pretty decent. You have some hieroglyphics on each side there. Similar thing going on here. And then you have one peg here and then the hole there. And they're smooth on the inside, so this should basically go together really seamlessly like that. And you have the big crescent boomerang piece here. So, cool system. Wish we got some small ones too, or just a bunch of different ones here as well. I don't remember if you actually used small ones. And the only other thing is, could have better paint. Like, there's no paint on these at all, but the actual mold and sculpt is still pretty cool with that. The first thing I want to start off when talking about the figure is the overall lack of paint in certain areas. You're definitely, if you're a customizer, you're gonna want to give this a wash. I mean, like the thighs have really nice printing right there. That looks great, and these are actually sculpted in there too. But I'm talking like the wraps mostly, like in the stomach, the chest, the arms. It's just molded in this one color, and there's not much paint in there. A black wash, I'd say a light enough black wash is even going to make this pretty good looking. So that's my recommendation. I'm not good at painting, so maybe I'm wrong. So that's what the back looks like. Just give you a quick look at that. Pretty good when it comes to like how the wraps are supposed to be done. There's a hole right there, and this system is very, you guys are familiar with how these work by now. Looks like this is a little bit warped, but essentially just, if you can, plug it in there, and it should stay in there rather nicely. It's not too top heavy, so it should, you should be fine. Only thing about this, two things. With my particular figure, there's some splotching going on there, and there's something weird going on with the plastic right here. There's a little bit of splotch right there, just pointing out some of these imperfections. The overall detailing is nice because it has this pattern in here. It's wavy, just a little bit. So it's almost like neutral, but then over here on the right, it gets a little wavier. Part of me wishes it was just flat neutral, but at the same time, I do like that it's a little bit pre-posed, but not too crazy. Like if it was all the way to the left, that would have looked kind of ugly. I feel like, I could be wrong, there might be a little bit of some shading in some of these creases, but it could just be the lighting as well. But they do have that type of texture on the inside, you know, consistent. Now let's actually start from how I do this normally, going to the head. I wish this came with an Oscar Isaac head sculpt. And I really hope if they give us another one that's pretty much the exact same figure, they make it a little bit different enough with better paint apps with that head sculpt. So that way there's actual reason to buy, you know, to buy it a second time. Or if you're missing out on this, in anticipation of that, there's that. But they tend to do that sometimes. They'll release this and you've already bought it, and then they'll re-release it again with the stuff that you needed, which is annoying and kind of crappy. They've done that with the Sam Wilson Captain America once. Anyway, this head sculpt still looks really good. They have some nice blue printing in the eyes, a little bit of white in there too. It seems like they did try to attempt a little bit of some type of wash in the bandages. I wouldn't say bandages, in the wrapping in the face. It's a little bit dark and like around the eyes, on the nose, and the face overall. It could be a little bit better, but it's not too bad. The actual sculpting, like that crescent, is really sick. The rest of it, you know, the actual sculpting is a little bit soft, like not too detailed. Still looks nice. Very nice line work. A little bit of this hood piece right there. Not much paint, again, going on here, but this color matches really well with the cape, so that's cool. All these individual areas where it has the wrapping going on, even if it doesn't look that well detailed, it's still impressive that they were able to get this much out of it. So I think that's cool. Not much paint. I mean, there's a little bit of this like gray going into the you have gray and off-white, as you can see there in that pattern. It's not super prominent, but it's still good enough. And then you have these gold crescents. So everything gold is painted from my understanding. And it looks actually really good. The crescents around the knees and around the wrists as well. Those pieces look good. They have a little bit of a line in there too. The crescent symbol on the you know, on the skirt piece, and even this little bit of trimming on the top. All these different areas where there's gold in there. The chest piece has silver and gold. That looks really good. And then this, I forgot to mention, you know, like the shoulder pieces in this part also has gold. There's not much. They continue the gold on the back here, so that's cool. But everything else is just molded, again, in like this off-white color. And paint goes a decent amount of the way when it comes to enjoyability and just how good the figure looks. So that's all I'm going to say on that. I've already harped on it a little too much for not having that much paint. We do have pinless tech. I want to say, if I look towards the front here, it looks like it actually blends together. The color blends together really well. I guess it's going to depend on the lighting, because right now I think the knees, this looks a little bit more glossier and this looks a little bit more matte, I would say. This has been happening lately where, you know, you have the pinless tech and there's some discoloration in some of this. Now here the color is consistent, but the actual, like this being glossy and this being more matte, that's inconsistent. Not that big of a deal for me, just something I wanted to point out there. So it looks like the printing is a little bit off on this, just a little bit. I can kind of forgive it because these are really small areas to basically etch into there. This is what the hands that he comes packaged with look like. They are these open hands that have an up and down motion, which we'll talk about the articulation in a second, but has a little bit of a separated index finger right there. And you can see some of the wrapping going on there on the inside of the palm. Let me show that off again. So it looks like on the back of the hand. Same thing here. All that looks pretty good. Look at the legs, nice wrinkles pretty much everywhere. Like this skirt piece has really nice wrinkles. A little bit of, I thought there was a silver, but it's just off-white the way it's molded. But it has some wrinkles, and it does have some ripping here and around here too. You know, we have the lines and the patterns going on here. A little bit of this pattern going on as well. That's kind of cool. And then wrinkles again. Then we get down to basically the shins and the boots. And these are definitely more of a looking, what am I trying to say? There's a different color here than this, but not by much. These are a little bit of like the darker off-white, I guess. The sculpting could be better with these wrappings. But I'd say everything else about it's pretty good. It looks like these are separate pieces. There's a separation of plastic right here. It's not the most distracting. It's just something I noticed just now. There's the top of the feet, which has some pretty good wrappings. I've said wrappings like, I don't know, take a shot every time I've said wrappings. You'll have liver damage. And then this with the bottom. What the feet look like. There's not much else I guess I can talk about with the overall detail. There's just a few areas of splotches. Like on the back of this thigh, a little bit on this skirt piece on the butt. And then I already talked about the cape pieces there. So, you know, for $25, could have some better QC, but it's not god-awful than what I've gotten with like some of the stuff with the windowless packaging lately. Before we take a look at articulation, I want to pop the head off so you can see how the ball, dumbbell joint, I should say, works. We get this a lot with certain Marvel Legends now. And then you can actually remove this cape, so if you have soft goods you want to use and you don't like the hard plastic, not super hard, but hard enough plastic, and there you go. So, side to side, the up could be a little bit better, and the down is actually pretty good, and then the swiveling, there's no problem there. There's no butterfly joint, however, the arms go outward that much, and that's really good. You have all the way around, upper arm swivel. You do have double jointed elbows. They're a little bit tight because of the pinless tech, unfortunately. Forgot to mention, they have a little bit of sculpting right there too, but there's not much paint, which I get it. Swivel at the wrist, and this one goes up and down, so the ones with the open grip do that, but they swivel with the fists, and they have a hinge right there. Now, I do wish we had a separate waist twist, because you can see how that is a separate piece like that, but it's just a ball joint, and surprisingly, this doesn't get in the way too much, this little flap piece right there. But that's as far forward as it wants to go. The backward motion could be better too. Side to side, fine, and the swiveling is fine as well. The hips, it depends. You could push it out a little bit and you would actually get a really good range of motion. But going back is not great. And this skirt piece also doesn't get in the way, so that's good. Thighs, splits, I should say. Could be better, could be worse. Upper thigh swivel's pretty good. Double jointed knees, which are also really tight. Just notice the splotch on the other thigh too. Now with the ankles, they go down that much, which is really good. Up actually really nice. And then we have ankle rockers with pickles at the bottom of the feet. So for quick measurements, looks like we're staring at 17.5 centimeters, getting close to that. Looks like we're at 6.5, close to 6 3/4 inches there. As you can see right next to him on the left, that is the 2021 Walgreens exclusive Moon Knight figure. I don't have the 2017 one on me right now, but hopefully this is going to be a good enough size comparison. Looks like the Moon Knight in the middle is just a little bit taller, which is fine. And then over on the far right, that's the first ever Black Series Mando, which those figures are going to be a little bit shorter than Marvel Legends. Overall, I do think that this is a pretty nice figure. I think my expectations were met pretty well. I do wish this figure exceeded those expectations just by a little bit. It's mostly the wrappings on the figure. I think the overall sculpt is nice, especially for this being a brand new mold and new sculpting for this. But I wish it had the paint to bring out those wrapping details, a black wash, even a little bit of it. And a little bit of shading would have been nice. But where there's gold and silver on this is really nice. The markings on the legs, they could be a little bit better. They're a little bit off-centered, but still a nice effort there. The eyes also have some nice paint. I do like that you can take off the cape if you wanted to and replace that. Articulation is really solid on this, and unfortunately it doesn't come with an unmasked head. That would have been great to get an Oscar Isaac head. If you have a Poe Dameron from Black Series or a custom Marvel Legends Oscar Isaac head sculpt, I think that will work fine. But the accessories that we do get are still pretty nice. This is a little bit of a steep offering, you know, $22 to $25, especially considering we don't get a Build-A-Figure piece, and it's a little bit hard to justify the price here, but it's still a really nice figure. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Comment down below what you think about the figure, what you think about the review. Leave a like, share amongst your friends, follow me on Instagram for more content over there, and I'll see you guys later.